if you go into the experience career path, user experience or customer experience, what path should you take? Should you go contributor, individual contributor, should become a manager or generalist or specialist? What are your options? So if you don't go into customer experience or user experience design, will you become a contributor? Will you become a manager? Will you become a generalist? Or will you become a specialist? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I am Ellie. I'm a customer experience head in a large conglomerate, and I'm a founder of a design community here in the Philippines. And today, let's talk about career paths in experience design, user experience design. Previously, I talked about this. Um, so I talked about this screen that you're seeing right now, and one of the common questions is, do I need to always become a manager? Do I need to become a generalist or a specialist? Or what does that all mean? Okay. Normally, you start off as something, either you're a design facilitator, designer, visual storyteller, or a design researcher, the most common things that I see here in the Philippines. And you create something, you produce something. You are at the first level a producer. And that's one of the most common things that you'll see in a level one of yeah, this is 2018 study by Envision, um, on what this is the design better. And at the very first level, level one, you'll be producers. You'll just basically be churning out content. At this level, you are going to be mostly focusing on UI and your design team. Okay, this is a design maturity index in a level one design maturity, and most probably in your career, if you're starting off, if you're in a startup or in some area of in a starting up just your design team, you'll probably be an individual contributor. What does an individual contributor mean? You are basically churning out content. Okay, let's take a look at possible career paths. So this is from Cisco Umbrella. Your path would be, you'd become an individual a designer, intermediate designer, senior designer. And then you can take a path that you're managing. What's the key difference? When you're managing now, you are thinking of operations, design operations. And that means that basically, when your designers are spending more than 50% of the time doing operational work, that's a problem. And that's when you need a manager to start taking care of that for you. So a manager will take care of the operations, hiring people, finding your tools, making sure everything's working for you, and you can just do your job. You are able to just churn out, produce content. Okay, those are generally what the design manager path, and that involves also a lot of talking to and negotiating to people. Again, I noticed that a lot of designers don't necessarily want to take that path. Okay, then otherwise, you can be a senior designer, your design lead or principal designer. In this case, you'd also be thinking about, you still be mentoring junior or senior lower level designers. You'd be mentoring, but it's not as you're more developing your skill and their skill versus thinking of operational things. So will you become an individual contributor? Will you become a contributor or will you become a manager? Those are the path options you can take. Now, the other path you can take is you can be a generalist or a specialist. So, what does a generalist or specialist mean? And this is from Scrum.org, an example, but in this case, their example here is for a Scrum team. But you can be similar here. Instead of analyst, programmer, test engineer, you can put there UX research, design, design thinking, especially. So those are the things, those are your paths that you can take. And you can go deep into in area, or you can go become a generalist. So what does that mean? You can be studying, you can become a design facilitator, designer, and a design researcher. You know all the skills. You would be able to do that, and you'd become a generalist. Or you can go deeper in a certain path and develop your skills further into design coaching, or maybe you'd like to focus more on design research, or maybe you'd like to go to visual design or visual storytelling. What does that mean for you practically? That means the amount of time in a week, in a day that you're spending. So, for instance, if you are a design facilitator, you'd be spending a lot of time talking to people, um, doing consults of how to do design thinking in the organization, transforming the businesses, and affecting culture. Or if you want to go deeper into being a designer, you'd be mentoring more other designers. You'd be focusing developing further your skills as a designer. Or you could be a design researcher. You'd be deeper there. Okay, and that means that if you're design research, you'd be spending your week like doing interviews. You'd be doing usability tests, and that takes a lot of time. Okay, so it's very difficult for people to do all this. It's very difficult to um, be doing all this and going deeper at the same time. So it's a time, your limiting factor is the amount of time you'll spend. Uh, how much time you can be interested in all of this, but how much time you can you actually spend in being a design researcher, or being a visual visual storyteller, or being a lead designer, or actually design thinking. So there's a danger of, if you're spreading yourself thin, the quality of your work might suffer. It's not as deep. Okay, so you can be a generalist, you know everything, but it's not as deep because your amount of time you're be spending will be spread out. So me, I'm basically a generalist now. I know a little bit of everything, but there's a lot of value to people who are specialists, who really go into design and go into design research, or focus on design coaching. And what I've seen is, as you go bigger, as your team becomes bigger, and that's shown in the design maturity matrix from Envision. Initially, they'd be contributors, but they'd soon become connectors. So design maturity becomes connectors, and your proven impact on product usability, customer satisfaction, and this your impact on the people, the practices spread out. Now you're impacting a lot more people, um, versus you're just producing. Now you're impacting a lot more people. When you get to the architect level, you're continuing to impact more and more people, and then you're also developing the platforms, normally design systems and design operations. And then this is when you're become a scientist, is when you're doing a lot of testing, experimentation. This is where the fun part comes in. And a lot of design researchers do this now: experimentation, user research, so both qualitative, quantitative research. So that's and then at level 5, the highest level is the visionary, and design is integrated everywhere. So think about your company. Are you uh, what does your company look like right now? Are you an individual contributor in company, or are you a manager, or are you influencing change in your company? Take a look at this now. So those are your options. Will you become an individual contributor focused here and become a specialist? So I can be a design research. I focus on that, and that's what I want to do. It's up to you. What do you like to do? And that will reflect on how much of time you're spending in a week. And that really boils down to, what do you enjoy doing? Um, what is your flow state, your psychological state, which I mentioned yesterday? Flow state. What is your flow state? When do you get in the zone? When do you have fun without the time passing by without you noticing, because you're having so much fun in your work? When does this happen? For me, this happens when I'm facilitating. So I'm pretty strong at the facilitation. Um, I also enjoy this when I'm doing my sketches, when I draw. So a bit of visual storytelling. Where is it for you? Ask yourself that. Do you like talking to people? Do you like coaching? So maybe if you like coaching other teammates, you become a design lead and principal designer. You'll be mentoring. Okay. So, or if you like improving operations, for me, I like improving operations. I like thinking of design operations and how to make it every easy for the team, so that they won't be bogged down to be more productive. So again, take a look at When your designers are spending 50% of their time doing operational work, that's a problem. Me, I like spending making sure that my team is not doing operational work and doing actual output. Okay? Think about yourself, think about your career path. What do you want to go to? Want to become a contributor? And that's fine. You can increase your salary becoming an individual contributor. And I've seen that in US Auto Parts where I worked before. There are developers who became senior developers and were earning as high as a manager. Um, but because they they don't like managing people, basically, they can take that path, and you can be paid more. Okay, you can be paid also, right? Think about this when you're doing your career path, career decisions, and we are in day 4 of experience design sessions. Hope this you find this useful and think about your career future and what direction you'd be taking in. So we do this every day, maybe for the entire January. We'll spend every day around this time, 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning. I do this, and you can watch it later. Okay. Hope you found this useful. Tell me if you have any questions. I've seen a couple of questions. I'll answer you in the future episode. Okay. That's all for now because I have to go to my day job. Bye bye now. Thanks. Bye bye.